John Maisano is just beginning, and he's filled with enthusiasm and talent and an eye for the future. And what's just great about John Maisano is that he's the most positive person that anybody's ever experienced, and all our staff and everyone, they say the same thing. He is the most wonderful person to talk with or to get a response from. No matter what you say or what you ask, you get this immediate, wonderful response from this wonderful person. And we are so fortunate to have met him. And it doesn't get better that he's this talented sculptor. It's just great.
I've worked in museums for 26 years now as an exhibit designer. So I interact with a lot of cultural pieces. I was at Yale University at the Peabody Museum for about 12 years. And I guess I always had this fascination with why does an artist use a design the way they've used it? And I became more and more fascinated with that. So when I got to start, creating my designs, I went through that same process. Like, well, what do these designs mean to me? I started back in 2001. I got my first commission, which was quite a surprise, for a 12-foot dinosaur. I had never sculpted before. And I sort of had to dive in. It was a leap of faith. And I made a small maquette. Long story short, I ended up getting the commission. And so my first piece is this 12-foot dinosaur in a major park in Austin, Texas. From there, I did a number of other pieces. The foundry would just give work to me. Would you do a dragon for someone in Houston? And I did a Chinese dragon. And then they said, would you do a bas relief of a face, a portrait? And I did that. Then he started talking to me, giving me advice. He said, if you're ever going to be collectible, you have to have a style. So for 2 years, I labored trying to figure out a style. So I sat down one night and I wrote down 3 things that I love: Art Deco, Art Nouveau, and animals. And I sat there with a stick. I went outside, got a stick, and I started sculpting a lizard because my wife studied lizards. And came out with my first piece that was very stylized. It had Art Deco elements, it had Art Nouveau elements. Animals to me just hold a special power. And I use the designs to also sort of interact to explain that power. I have a wild boar that I created that's a very power piece. So on the wild boar, there's a coil on his side. That's a coiled energy. And his back has these lightning bolts, which are polished, and he's in this very powerful stance. And I call it listening to the animal when I create them. Many times I'll create the form and I'll simplify the shape and I'll get my angles and my pose, but it'll take 6 months sometimes to listen to that piece, to get the designs to come out, to get that power, that spirit to come out. As a kid, I used to go and watch the eagles in the woods. I'd watch them fly, and just very inspirational, very uplifting. We call this piece Ascension. In the Native American culture, as I understand the folklore goes, the eagle is the only creature that could fly to the heavens. And I really latched onto that. And so on the other side of the wings here, you'll see a sun that represents the heavens that he's flying to. So on each side of his wing, he's got a sun. And the most important thing with this piece for me was the face-on view when you stand in front of it. I really wanted to get that very powerful movement in the wings. A lot of times the story develops as I work. So first I created this Great Wave piece as an homage to the Great Wave of Kawanga, which is a Japanese art print. That became what I call my wave of life, because it starts at a point and it ends at a point. And it changes as you go. And I've told this story to people at shows, and I'll say, sometimes you're on top of the wave and sometimes you're right underneath the wave. And they'll say, yeah, I'm right under here right now. But through it all, there's these beautiful moments. The designs come through and they're polished, and it's just a beautiful moment that happens in your life, or a special person that you meet. I was sitting in my studio working, and it was like a bolt of lightning. I thought, I've been thinking about exposures. This would be the pinnacle of galleries for me. And I thought, I'm just going to call them. I just got this inspiration to call him, and I called and talked to Debbie. And Debbie said, you know, Marty just saw an ad of yours and he wanted me to contact you. So it was just this very serendipitous moment. And from the beginning, when we met with Marty, he said, we are called exposures because we want to expose the artist to the world. And I thought, wow, that just took me back. I thought, this is amazing. And he's not like any other gallery owner. His people are not like any other gallery people that I've come to know. They're really loving, caring, family. Yeah, I can't say enough about how wonderful it is to be here.